Hello and welcome back to Ground Control Board Games Top 100 Games. We're coming at you live from Board Game Boot Camp 3. We're recording from the bunker. And today we're counting down our 25 to 1, and we're just going to get right into it. My number 25 is Kanban EV. This is a complex worker placement game about being a middle manager in an electric car company. This game famously has Sandra right there, which is the meeple that you will hate more than any component in any board game. So the way that it works is that you have to manage, the R&D and then the car production and the inventory and then the projects going on within this factory. And then Sandra follows you around and judges how good you're doing. So it's kind of a whole game about sucking up to Sandra, really. I think out of complex Euro games like this, the theme comes out really good, better than in...
I really like the way the theme works in this game.
Right. Usually for a game like this complex, you don't quite get that much theme, but I'm angry at Sandra as I play this one. It's hilarious.
Isn't Kanban a type of management style?
Yeah,
like a Japanese or whatever?
Yep. So that's what it's named after.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this game is that there are these speech bubble tokens, which we call yapping points. And as you earn these, at the end of the week, there's an end of the week meeting, which is a scoring category. And the more yapping points that you have, the more you can bring up the topics that you want in the meeting, which is hilarious. So you can be like, hey, I want to talk about green cars. Can we talk about green cars real quick? And it's just hilarious.
The conversations we get into are just hilarious. Oh, hey Sandra, I have 2 green cars in my garage.
Look at me, Sandra. Look at me. It has a really bad player aid, which I think in the first game kind of hurt it. There's no iconography reference that I could look at as I was trying to learn the game. And then there was also just some weird mechanical complexity. Every little aspect of this game has a lot of little things going on, and some of it you could very clearly see the payout, and some of it seemed like it didn't have much. So, but had a great time. That's Kanban EV.
Number 25 for me is Dune Imperium, which I'm realizing now got cut off, so it just says Imperium, but scratching a little Dune on that. It's a Euro with combat, which I think is pretty exciting. I realized I actually put Dune Imperium Uprising as the picture, which was a bit of a faux pas by me. Haven't played that one, but I've heard good things about that too.
They're distinct games?
Yeah. So Dune Imperium Uprising is kind of a second edition of Dune Imperium with just more stuff.
Some people are calling it a patch to the game.
Yeah, it's like a version 2.
That's a really funny way of thinking about board games. Most of the time it's just a straight up sequel or expansions. You just keep making the same game. This is going to be a common theme here, but for me, theme is the most important thing for Euros. If I feel like I'm doing something cool, if I can grapple along with it, then I will love it. And for me, the theme of terraforming Mars is just so thematic and interesting. I love that there's a sense of scale in this game. The whole point of the game is you're just picking up cards and adding it to your whole tableau. And some of the cards are microbes or worms or dogs. And then some of the cards are crash a meteor into the surface of the earth to create a new water zone. And I just love that those are the same amount of card. It's just it's a really good way of building out the breadth of the project that you're trying to do, because it is a generational thing. And I don't know, just something about that. It's really easy for me to get invested. Doesn't have one of my favorite things with Euros where it's very self-focused. You're kind of just looking down at your own area. But I like looking down at my own area for what it's worth. I do like player interaction, but the bit that I'm staring at is fun enough, so I like it.
My number 24, moving down 4 spots this year, is Carcassonne. This game is a very boring-looking tile game. It looks like some kind of children's game, but it's very fun. This is a classic, but importantly, it was not a gateway game for me. I was well into the hobby by the time I got this one. So it's not a purely nostalgia pick. I just think that it does simple tiling really, really well.
I love simple turns. I love that everything is just you're putting down one tile. That's it.
Pick up a tile, put it down. That's it. Teach it to anyone.
Number 24 to me and new to me. I have Next Station, specifically I put Tokyo because that was my favorite of the 3, but this is combined with Next Station London and Next Station Paris. These are just really good flipping rights. These stations come out and you have one of these 4 pencil colors and you are designing your subway station. It has something that not a lot of flipping rights have, which is just like a really slight asymmetry to it. In a game like Welcome to, you could copy another player exactly if you really wanted to. And you can't do this in this game because everyone is at a different station based on the different colors. So it's really cool seeing like just how everyone's stations kind of like evolve at the end of the game, just from the exact same cards but just a different starting point, which I really like. Highly recommend them. They were a surprise to me. I just won Next Station London at a convention, and I had a hoot with it. I'm really grateful that happened, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have found these games.
Yeah, I signed you up to win these ones, and you were like, "Why'd you sign me
I
up
was
for
like,
that?"
I don't know what this game is.
Next up, I got Slay the Spire. It is a cooperative fighting game where you are going through a dungeon trying to slay the spire. This game is the best combat of any game I've ever played because it's just the combat system of Slay the Spire. Yeah. I've played the video game, which is based on, for over 100 hours. I love it to death. I can't wait for the second game to come out, frankly. I'm going to play the shit out of that. I think this goes above and beyond most board game adaptations of other stuff because it's a very similar starting point, but by just adding it like cooperative elements, it just makes it so much more interesting. And I just like talk with my friends. It's still a little bit more, you're kind of doing your own thing, but there are these brief moments where you can like help someone else out that are really fun. I love this one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things with like the cooperative aspect of this game. It's just being like, okay, like who can take care of this guy over here? Because he's gonna just mess me up right now. I need someone to attack this guy.
He's attacked for the third turn in a row. This is bullshit.
Yeah, I'm about to get dazed again. It's over.
My number 23 is new this year. It's Splendor combined with Splendor Duel. Although honestly, I probably should have flipped those because Splendor itself would have not made the list, I don't think. Splendor Duel is amazing. I love what they've done with the duel version. Splendor is a very simple tile drafting game or gem drafting game where you just take gems and then get cards that get you permanent gems and then you get points. Splendor Duel adds this next like one more layer of complexity that like really makes the game shine, in my opinion, where you have to draft the tiles from this little grid, and there's this kind of like push and pull of when I'm going to take those and when I'm going to force my opponent to give me a scroll by refilling that. I played this game a lot over Christmas and I had a ton of fun with it, and yeah, great game. Splendor Duel.
Number 23 for me is Newsfeud. This is a game about feeding fish to old people. I'm really bad at this game. I'm not good at this game at all. But it kind of has like, I think it's in Black Forest as well, where you're kind of clearing out these forests and building buildings, and those give you like certain abilities or points. Really fun. I think one of my favorite parts of the game is that other people can have like stock in your fishing company, so you have to like pay them fish at the beginning of your turn. It's just really funny to me.
One thing that bothers me about this game that you can see pretty well in this picture is that the colors and the art and everything on the boards themselves are like really nice, and then the cards that just cover the entire board are just beige with pure text.
They remind me of the cards on Castle Panic, just like very gray, brown and gray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Really like Newsfeud. Really enjoyed it.
Next up, I have a game that my friend Alex showed it's a board game, like building up little combos for yourself, making sure that you have a large enough army so that you don't get absolutely trounced, which I always do. But it's good.
And just a classic drafting, classic engine building action. Yeah.
My number 22 is Architects of the West Kingdom, another Garfield game. We've seen a bunch of those on the list, and this is not going to be the last one. This is a game where you are an architect trying to win the king's favor by building the best buildings and contributing to the cathedral and scoring the most victory points by being the most efficient architect in the kingdom. I played in the World Tournament this year, and I actually got to the final, and I got third place, which was a really cool experience, and playing the game back-to-back during that tournament was kind of what brought this game up for me this year. I saw more nuance in the game that I didn't realize was there. This game is all about timing, and it's all about like making a simple plan and just like a very simple engine right at the beginning, and then just running with it. And then at that point, just like timing your resources as well as you can, just to eke out as much points as possible. It's also about not capturing the attention of other people because they can arrest you in this game. Mm-hmm. So if you can just be like a little low key and just always be like not the biggest thing going on the board, not the biggest threat on the board, that really helps you. This game also is one of my go-to games for teaching worker placement, which also helps it a lot. The one thing that I will say about this game is that at this point, I would only ever play it with 3 or more people. It doesn't play well with 2 because of the capturing mechanic, and the solo mode, the bot doesn't feel anything like a human. You have to play it in a completely different way, which I find unenjoyable. But at 3 or more players, it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I love this game. I'm really bad at timing my resources.
Yeah.
like I'll like really need like wood or something. I'll look down at the board. I don't have any workers on the wood place. I'm like, oh, this is gonna take forever. It's gonna be forever.
This is gonna be a grind. You have to really adapt your play styles too when you play against different people, because some people will arrest you just over and over and over. And that, like, I'm totally not used to when someone just wipes out all my people. It just messes me up.
Yeah. I was going to ask, how does the game handle, like, pivots? Like you said that it's all about building a pretty simple engine at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any points in the game where you have to, like, kind of switch things up, or is it mostly just having a plan and then sticking with it?
The biggest pivot point in this game is that you have, like, a limited number of cards that can be in your hand. So halfway through the game, you're probably going to have to pick up more cards, and then that's when you have to, like, okay, I have to completely change what I was doing in order to make some of these work, or decide to go to the cathedral and get rid of those cards. So there's, like, one big pivot point in the game.
I think at least, I mean, maybe it's, like, the way I play it, but this game does kind of have, like, the classic Euro, like, towards the end of the game, it's kind of just, like, burn everything down, like, like... You're just trying to get everything out as fast as possible, but I could be playing it very poorly. I'm not great at this game. Number 22 for me, another Garfield game, Hadrian's Wall. I love Excel spreadsheets, so I love this game. No, this is just a really good roll and write. I really like the puzzle. I love how much space there is to explore in this game. Like, there's so many different ways you can like attack this puzzle. And, like, they're all, like, kind of effective in their own way. Like, any path you take, there's, like, kind of, like, an optimal route you can take that will honestly serve you pretty well. This is another game that I'm, like, not great at, but I just really enjoy it every time I play it. And this kind of has, like, it's one of those just, like, great roll and writes for the reasons that it really serves well with the combos. Like, basically anything you need, you can get with, like, a few resources, which is really nice, but also... That's another thing, kind of like architects. I'm really bad at timing my resources.
Right.
Honestly, I think that's a common theme of just like any Garfield game. Like anytime like I'm trying to manage my resources, I do a terrible job. Like I'm always like a day late and $1 short. Like it's terrible, but it's honestly really fun. I love this game.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about this game is like initially getting into it, just like exploring all the possibilities. Yeah. And it honestly takes like 4 or 5 games just to like kind of know where to go when you have like a certain problem or you need a certain thing. So yeah, it feels like an exploration game in a way in the first 2 or 3 games that you play.
I had no idea where to put this one. This is Arcs, another Cole Worley game. I'm so torn about this because I played it only once, and I liked it, but it was a like intro game. It was like learning all the systems, and it's a more complicated game. You know, your first game with a lot of Cole Worley's designs are going to be a little bit more of a learning experience, and then you jump into it after. But I haven't had the chance to jump into it after. But what I did see from Arcs, I really, really enjoyed. I am super into the light asymmetry that he has landed on. You know, with Root, there's the whole different mechanics baked in for how people play. This one, each player is going to have the same basic verbs to be able to interact with the systems. The asymmetry comes mostly in the... Is it leaders? Is that what those cards are called?
Yeah, leaders. And then there's lore cards, too.
And lore, yeah. And, there's optional expansion stuff. The leaders and lore pack can get more stuff like that. This is a space dudes on a map game that actually feels like you're making Machiavellian plays. A lot of the times when you have these like big dudes on a map game, it's like you're plodding around with these big massive armies, and it's like kind of too slow. I'm playing Civ 6 right now, and that's just what it feels like. It's just so slow. And there's like guile that you can put into these systems, and like, ooh, that was like a good move. I really had like, you can feel smarter outside of just the basic, you know, spaceship combat and stuff. Yeah. And I would really like to play this more, especially the legacy elements, because I'm going to talk about Cole Worley's legacy elements later on. And I am fascinated by how he tries to do it with this.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of what you're saying. I really like you can make like a big brain move and like have like a grand scheme, and it doesn't necessarily require you to like amass an army. This game really rewards if you can like cook up a scheme really fast and then pull it off, and it feels so good when you do. It's awesome. Yeah,
we just played Tigris and Euphrates last night, and that kind of reminded me of this, where you can have like a turn that like right before you take the turn, you just came up with this crazy plan, and it's just like the biggest turn in the game, and just like wipes out half the stuff on the map. There is a game with those huge swingy turns, so you have to kind of be okay with that playing it, but it's exciting for sure.
It's a chin stroking game, really.
And similar to Tigris and Euphrates, like you have those really swingy turns, but like the thing is like all the information is just there and like publicly available, basically. Where it's just like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Oh, yeah, I could have prepared against that.
But but you didn't.
My number 21 is the highest game that I have only played once physically. I also played it once digitally, and this is A Feast for Odin by Uwe Rosenberg. This game is a feast of components. It's a feast of complexity. It's a feast for your brain. This game is absolutely insane. This game is the feeling when you go to a restaurant that you like thought was like a burger restaurant, and you open the menu and you're like, they serve seafood here? They serve Mexican here? They have everything on the menu, and it's like so hard to choose what you want to eat. You're like, what is even the best thing to do here? It's like that's every turn in this game.
It's like a cheesecake factory. It's like you have way too much food here. Like you cannot be treating those chefs back there, right?
Feast for Odin is the cheesecake factory of board games. And honestly, an amazing game. You have to really, really like polyominoes to like this game, because that's kind of like the core of what the game is. It's going on these missions as a Viking and coming back with loot, which is in the form of polyominoes, and you have to do this little puzzle on your board. It's this big spatial puzzle, and there's so many things that you can do. I've played it twice, like I said, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what this sandbox is and what it all holds. When we were playing it, just trying to wrap my head around what I could do, I felt like I was hallucinating. Like time would just like pass in such a weird way, and I'd just be so zoned out, and then I'd be like, Chan, is it my turn? And you're like, sorry, no, it's still my turn. I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, it has been 15 minutes. What's going on?
Yeah, you still got a while before your turn. I really got to think about this. Because, you just have a menu of actions to choose from. Like,
it's so much. But clearly I love it. I mean, it made my number 21.
It's so good.
But I could only learn, honestly, like 4 or 5 games of this complexity in a year.
That's fair.
Honestly.
What a good name for a game that has just like a smorgasbord of options. It's like, it's a feast. It's just a lot.
They absolutely nailed it.
Number 21 for me is Arboretum. This is just a really good small box card game. It's kind of a fun little mathy puzzle. You want to create these chains of your trees in like an ascending order, but it's fun because you have to earn the right to score your trees, and the way you do that is by having the greatest number of them in rank, like in your hand. This game's really beautiful, and it's so brutal. Like this game is sharp. Like it's so easy to be so mean in this game, and I really like it. Yeah,
at least half of what you're doing is just being a dick.
yeah, that's so much fun.
I know you mentioned this earlier, Mark, but like, does that theme like work? Because it seems like there's the juxtaposition between them.
The theme works in the sense that it's not a scout game. It doesn't get in the way. It doesn't make me mad. It's like, sure, yeah, I have a line of trees. That makes sense. It's not the, like, are we running a circus here thing that Scout has going on.
Yeah. This next little hideous option for me is Startups, my 21 pick. It is a game about investing in various companies. It's not really a short selling game. It's more about investing early. It's extremely simple. The whole puzzle is whether or not you want to reveal your investment in certain cards. Turns are just really simple. And one thing I love about this is that it's really not obvious what the strategy is. There's just so many different paths to victory for something that is so simple. Like it could not be a more simple game, and you get so much thinking out of this super small box. The box is like literally this big. I wish that the cover wasn't as hideous. It looks like the worst watermelon you've ever seen. It's monstrous.
It looks like a pack of gum or something.
Yeah,
like
it
some
does.
watermelon gum.
This is a good microcosm of like our different philosophies with games. Like My favorite games are ones that are like this big and have 2 rules, and your favorite games are games that have like 20,000 rules and have like an extreme complexity that you just like sit down.
It takes
and
4 hours
crunch
to
it
learn
out.
the rules. My number 20 is my lowest game on the list that has an award from previous years. This won my silver medal award in 2022, and this is Cartographers. This is a game about making a map. It's really nice because you get to draw and kind of implement your own art style into the game. It's a really, really good spatial puzzle. It's a pretty simple game, and when I teach it to people, they almost always really, really like it, and I like it too. That's Cartographers.
Number 20 for me, this is my top like solo only game, and that's gonna be Final Girl. It's almost dudes on the map, but not quite. It's horror themed, which is really fun. Like you're the final girl in a horror movie, like trying to run away from the killer, save as many victims as possible. Yeah, and it's just built on like a really good like card market system. All the games are really fun. It has really good like emergent storytelling that comes out in the game. Like there's a lot of just like really funny like plot beats that can happen. Like there's like a bunch of events that happen. So like sometimes like some of the victims get like named almost. Like you'll pull a card and be like replace this victim over here with a blue guy. This is now your boyfriend and he's a piece of shit and he is actively trying to kill you with the killer. And you like get points if you go and like kill your piece of shit boyfriend. Yeah, the dice can be really frustrating in this game, but that's kind of like a part of it. Is like I really like it because like this game is pretty unforgiving, and it's kind of fun when the killer wins in a horror movie sometimes. And yeah, I really enjoy it. That's the Final Girl.
Yeah, I usually don't care much about theme when it comes to solo games. I usually play solo games to do a puzzle, but this one, they handled the theme really well.
Yeah, I love the theme of this.
Ooh, next up we got Snake Oil. This is a good ass game right here. This is a filthy improv game. It's super simple. There's one judge and everyone else gets 2 cards with nouns on them. There'll be stuff like dog and then beer. And you have like a minute, I think, to have to come up with a product that fulfills some sort of need. So the person who's judging is going to be like, oh, I want something that's going to be able to drive me to work. And then you have to use the words dog and beer to somehow justify that. And it's just nonsense. It's just super goofy. This is the type of game where you just, as much creativity as you can put into it is as much as you're going to get. It's hilarious. I will say this type of game does punish a certain type of person. If you don't like doing improv, if this is not your thing, you will fucking hate this game. But I love it. I love coming up with stupid bullshit. I will say this is the scariest game I've ever played because you will be panicking trying to figure out how you're going to turn dog beer into a car, and then you won't, and then you're going to stutter your way through 30 seconds, and then you're going to be like, okay, thanks, Ben. Next.
Well, it's a beer dog actually.
It's a beer dog.
And it drives you to work.
See,
With yeah. It's a dog, drinks. You give it a bunch of beer. You give it the keys. Drives you to work.
can't believe you just beat me at my own game.
I've never heard of this. That sounds like a hoot.
You would love this game.
I
It's
think I'd
so
also
fun.
really
yeah.
like it.
I
yeah.
played this game a lot.
I'll have to check this out.
No, it's super fun.
My number 19 is Viticulture. This is a game where you are running a vineyard and making wine. It's a worker placement game. And it's a worker placement game where the action blocking feels really well done. It feels like it punishes you without having that feels bad moment. And I think that's because you have this grande worker that can always go somewhere. So while you always have to kind of have a plan B and a plan C, that's kind of the fun of the game. I think some worker placement games suffer from your plans just getting wiped out and they feel more frustrating. This year I just got Tuscany and then I also got Viticulture World, and Tuscany I think helps the game a lot. I think that the seasons were always one of the best part of the game where you have to decide when to use the workers in what seasons, and Tuscany splits it so that there's 4 seasons.
Oh.
And then there's also just like a little bit more going on, which I really like. I would never play the game without Tuscany anymore. And then Viticulture World is the cooperative game, and it feels like a completely different game just with the viticulture mechanics baked in. And Viticulture World is hard. It is so challenging. We struggled through level 1, but I'm really excited to try more of that. It just feels like it doesn't give you quite enough room for every player to do their own thing. You kind of just always have to be all on the same page and always have like this big grand plan that might lead to like a quarterbacking problem potentially. But yeah, absolutely love viticulture. I've had it for forever, and yeah.
Number 19 for me is Modern Art. This is my fourth top Knizia game. Yeah, this one's about just selling art. I really enjoy it. It's just like a good auction game. I really like the way that the like kind of economy evolves throughout the game. Like as you play, like you start to decide what artist's art is worth what, and it's kind of like a table developed meta almost, and there's still like room for like really mean gameplay. Because this game does a lot. It's like you're voting, but you're also auctioning, and then you're also kind of doing some hand management. It's just a really nice blend, and I really enjoy it.
I really like when it's your turn and you're trying to convince your friends like that what you're selling is worth it. You like get to present it and put it on the little pedestal and be like, "This is my boy Raphael. We all know that his shit is worth it."
I love like tossing out a painting that you're like intentionally planning to like devalue completely.
Right.
But like you're trying to like sell it off before you just like hit him with like a double of a different artist and like knocks him off from third place, so his art's worth nothing, and be like, "Oh, I just chumped you out, bro."
My hot take is that a lot of bidding games are just secretly negotiation games with more structure, where it's like, oh, you only have this amount to be able to justify and try to explain why someone needs this thing. And it's very similar to negotiation, but it's just a different structure. I don't know if they're blind bids or if they're open bids. Or...
That's one really cool thing about Modern Art is that there's like 4 different kinds of bids that can happen in the game. And it's like just like labeled on the card. Like you have to do this card as a blind auction. You have to do this card as an open auction, and then there's like fixed price, and then like single bid auctions.
I really like that.
It's
That's
really cool. I really like it.
Probably adds a lot of variety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up is Mysterium. This is a clue-giving game. I think I might be thinking of Obscurio, actually. Mysterium is the... I might have put the wrong game down here. I did it twice.
This is your second time doing this.
I need to double check real quick. So this game is not Mysterium. I must have been thinking of Obscurio. I've never played Mysterium. I was looking at the cover. I was like, I don't know what this game is. Obscurio is a clue-giving game. I've done it again. I don't know if the viewers know, but this is chronic. Obscurio is a really fun game. It's kind of straddling the line between a party game and more of a in-depth thing. It is a cooperative game where people are trying to intuit the clues from a clue giver. The art on the cards is absolutely beautiful. Part of the fun is the clue giver, instead of just giving like a word or something like that, what they have to do is they have to like put this little dial and point at a part of the clues. So it's like, oh, if there's like a gigantic bird and like a blue sky in the background, they could be pointing at the sky, which could indicate that they're talking about the sky, or maybe they're just talking about the color blue is going to be in the thing, and then you have to guess around that. I like this more than most clue-giving games because there's so much ambiguity that you can do. Like, you can just kind of talk yourself in circles around that, but you're operating under a time limit. It's just really fun conversations, and if you play with enough people, you can have a traitor mechanic where one person intentionally tries to lead the group astray, which leads to some really fun, like, paranoia and stuff. I really like that game.
My number 18 is So Clover. I put the All Reliable down there because this game really is all reliable. It's a party game where you randomly place these word cards on the clover like that, and then you have to connect the words. So like on the bottom there, it says turn and alarm, so you might put something like clock as the clue for that one. Ben was kind of talking about code names and how that game had like a long pause while people are coming up with hints. The nice thing with So Clover is that is all just front-loaded, and it's also simultaneous. So everyone does all their clues all at once, and then you just play through all the boards. This game always hits with friends, family. Great. That's So Clover.
Kanban EV. Mark just talked about this, but it's a Vital Lacerda game. It's just an incredibly crunchy worker placement, and it's very involved, and it's really hard to do what you want, and it's really fun. This game we played once, and it got like stuck in my head basically. Like I could not stop thinking about this game, and we played it again. Haven't really thought about it since, so got it out. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing this game. Yeah, there's just a lot of moving parts, but the way they connect is really fun, and the theme is just so funny to me. Like, I love the Sandra meeple that just goes and just complains about how bad you are at your job. Like, that's just so funny to me.
And the board, while it's overwhelming at first, it's beautiful. And everything that's there needs to be there. It's not like a Arborea situation. And the components are great too.
Yeah, I really like the way it's laid out. And, like, I don't know. This is fun because this is a game where you can get certified in things. Like, you can literally get your forklift certification in the game, and it's funny.
I gotta play.
Yeah.
You can get yapping certified,
Yeah.
which is awesome. You know, I'm always trying to do that. I had predicted that this was your number 3 game.
Really?
Because after we played it, you texted me, like, every day for a week about how you were thinking about this game.
Next up is No Thanks. This is the perfect game for playing whenever. If you have like 10 minutes of free time anytime, you can just play this game. It's super simple to teach. It's pretty quick to play. And kind of like what I mentioned with startups is that it's a simple game with not that many components. It doesn't take up much space, and you get a lot of complexity with how you play it. There's a lot of different ways that you can win. So the whole game is just choosing whether or not you want to take one of the cards from the middle. You need some amount of fear in these types of games, and this game makes me sweat. When you don't have enough of those little meeples, so you can't pass the gigantic amount of points in the middle, it feels awful, and you totally deserve it. It's your own fault. And then you'll see someone across the table who just took a really large amount of points, which you don't want, in the early game, and they just get to pass forever, and you get so jealous of them. So you do that next game, and it doesn't work, and it's just really fun time. I'll always play this.
I like how spiteful you can be in this game. Like, if you really screw someone over, they can just be like, all right, I'm not going to win, so neither are you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of king making in this game, but
My favorite thing about this game by far is just taxing people. Like,
Yes.
you have like the 33, and then the 34 comes out, and you're like, I'm gonna send this around a couple times. Like, I'm gonna make you guys stack this up for a bit, because I
Last time
know
around, I promise.
none of you want this, and it's not gonna hurt me at all. So
My number 17 is not called Gladiator. It's called For Glory, a game of deck building and gladiatorial combat. This is a game by an Omaha designer who I've met. He's a super nice guy, but I'm not gassing up this game just because I know the guy. This game is amazing. I think that it's a really exciting design. I think that it's really, really intelligent deck building that treats the player with respect. And what I mean by that is that all the basic concepts of deck building are just done in a really good way. You start with the coal card in your hand, so you don't have to like go through some back route way to like dump cards. That card just starts right in your hand. I really like the reserve system. You can put cards, save them for later when you get into combat, and then the game is kind of played in 2 phases where you're doing deck building and then you get into combat. And like Ben said, the combat is like really quick and snappy, and the deck building is kind of like the part that you want to be spending most of your time doing is what you get to do. The cards are also all useful in different ways in and out of battle, which I really like. And when you win battles, it has this catch-up mechanism where you get these boast cards that are useful, but they're also hilarious to have in your hand because you can like lay them on the table and like boast and be like, it is an action to play them. So you're like, check this out. Remember when I won that battle? Yeah, I'm the best. My one holdup with this game is that I could not be bothered to try to pre-calculate how battles are going to work out in my head.
Yeah.
When I'm laying these cards down in certain arenas, you could sit there and be like, this guy's going to attack this guy, and I know that they bought that ability that can trigger. There's no way I'm doing this. I play this completely as just like a vibes-based game, just hoping that I can win the battles. It seems like I'm stronger when I go there. Other than that, I just have like small production beef with this game. You can kind of see like right above me, the art in this game is amazing, but the text on the cards is like so small. And then the other thing with it, and this is kind of like a theme in my top 25 actually, is like text versus icons and like how my brain works. This game has so much text, and it has text where there could be icons. Like they call it blessings and they call it damage in the text instead of just showing the icon. So when I'm looking through all my gladiators, I can't just see the icon and be like, oh, that's the one that does the blessing thing, because I can see the blessing icon. I have to like read them and remember, and it kind of like taxes my brain a little bit more. And then they also like locked a small mini expansion in the Kickstarter campaign, which like I'm fine if they like give a discount on it for the Kickstarter, but like I love your game, like let me buy your expansion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's For Glory. This game is amazing.
Number 17 for me is Parks. This is just a real good like resource management kind of Euro game. I really like how different it plays every single time, and it's just a lot of fun. I like the action selection. I like the blocking that can happen. It has really good expansions. I love the art. I like how many different like strategies there are. Like you can go really heavy on like taking photographs, or you can just like really be going for like combos with the cards. You can kind of balance the two. There's a bunch of gear cards that can like really give you like a good engine, but you like kind of don't have to use them either. There's a lot of really interesting things you can do in this game, and I really enjoy it.
I feel like I don't remember this game as well as I should. I really need to play it again. But what do you think of Trails?
Trails, oh yeah, I combine this with Trails. Trails is just like Parks, but with like no bite almost. I don't know, because there's not like the blocking like there is in Parks. I don't know. It's like a Parks Junior almost,
Sure.
if I had to say. It's still good. It has the same art. It's really pretty. If you wanted to travel, I think Trails would be really good, honestly. And it's like different enough that it's not quite the same game, but there's a lot of similar concepts between the two.
And Parks makes a pretty good like early worker placement game, right? For teaching people to.
Yeah. I've taught people this that have like never played worker placement before, and it's gone swimmingly. So yeah.
Nice.
Some gas coming in. It's priorities. I love this game. This is just a game about people having different personal tastes in like the order of things. It comes up with like ridiculous queries like, oh, does Mark like Miley Cyrus more than Singing in the Rain? I don't know. Like, who's to say? Like, I think he kind of prefers Miley Cyrus.
How well do you know me? How well do you know me?
Yeah, and it's just a really funny conversation every time. It's a great way to get to know people too, but you can't just like jump out the gate with this game, because then you'll know nothing about them. There's like a bell curve for like how close to someone you need to be to get to know more, and then if you know someone really well, like you can be a real gamer about it. But this game's always fun. I love playing this with people I know for a long time. I do think it has a limited shelf life because you start to know the cards. Like it stops being surprising when you know.
Yeah, you've
Chan's
heard
putting on
people's
broccoli.
hot takes on all these cards, and the box is also like half empty, and I'm always just like, man, I wish it was just full of more cards so we could just play more.
Oh
Yeah, I will say I don't like basically anything about the production. I don't think the cards look good. I don't think the box looks good. I think it's too big.
Yeah. One thing that's also key about this game is that it plays from 1 to, or not 1, it plays from 2 to however many people you want to play with, and people can just jump in and out of the game. So super great for parties and stuff like that.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that it's cooperative too. That it's like kind of like player versus machine.
Yeah.
I like it.
This game would be way worse if there was like, oh, I get 2 points from guessing that right and 1 point from getting it wrong. It's just like,
I like how streamlined it is.
Yes, totally.
My number 16 is new this year, and it's Newsfjord. This is my top Uwe Rosenberg. This is Uwe Rosenberg's greatest hit, in my opinion. It is a straightforward, simple, but unique worker placement game about building a fishing company and going on these fishing expeditions and feeding old people. Oh, one more thing that I really like about this game and that boosts it, in my opinion, is that my wife really likes it. I think that one thing that I kind of miss in my collection is like these mid-weight games that we can just like play in an hour. I have like a lot of complicated games and then a lot of party games. So something like this is the type of game that my wife really likes to play with me. So it's gotten to the table a lot for that reason. This game, going right back to this conversation, is that text versus icons problem. It has so much text, and the text says fish instead of just showing me a picture of a fish. It makes me so upset. But if you're not illiterate like me, you'll love this game. That aspect of the game does not bother my wife at all.
It's just you.
I'm just illiterate.
I don't remember minding it that much playing it. Like
Look at you all alone.
yeah, I'm kind of literate. Don't mean to brag.
I'm
Big reader.
pretty illiterate.
Big reader
I
guy.
think this might just be a me problem. Also, the box is my favorite box out of any
It's really pretty.
board game.
I like it.
It's amazing. Very cozy.
This is Oath.
Wow.
This is a Cole Worley game. It's really good. I really like it. This is just like a story machine. If you ask me how much I like this game and you like stripped away the theme and everything, I don't think I'd like it that much.
Sure.
Like
Just the mechanics.
it's like just the way that like the story like unfolds in this game is just so much fun. I love like the history that occurs in this game. I don't know. There's like just like how weird this game can get to. Like there's a lot of really weird interactions, but like they all just like kind of like tie into like what's happening in the game, I guess. I'm not explaining this very well, but like it's like a dudes on a map, but like you kind of don't care about the dudes like a ton. The combat's like the clunkiest thing on earth.
Ridiculous. I've played this game so much, and sometimes I'm like, I need to look something up for like the basic mechanics, not for like an edge case.
No, exactly. Yeah. I think the rest of the game is like pretty smooth though, aside from like the combat. But there's like a really interesting decision space in here, and I kind of like how it's like King of the Hill, but there's like 5 different hills. But then like if you're like the Chancellor, you have more power, but there's just one hill that you like have to make sure that you're on, and then you have to be knocking everybody down. I really enjoy Oath.
I've played Oath, but I still feel like I haven't experienced Oath because I haven't played it multiple times with the same group. So I'm really hoping that when you move to town, Ben, that we can maybe play this game 3 or 4 times, with the same group, and I can see kind of how this game evolves.
Dude, the legacy elements of this game are so good. I think without them, the game is like decent. Like I've played a few one-offs with people, but it's always like this game isn't just about like winning the most amount of points. There's this very complicated victory conditions system that takes a little bit, but it adds a lot. And once you add the legacy elements to it, it really makes you consider the ways that you choose to win, not just the fact that you are going to win. So there are a bunch of different suits based on the cards of the suits that you had and that you used throughout the game to win. Those are the cards that are going to be added to like the world deck, like the deck of stuff that you can use, and other cards are going to get removed from it. So you get this super interesting thing where, it's like a snowball effect. Like if there's a bunch of order cards, like it always goes, the world it'll slowly become more and more easy for you to win using those cards. But you don't want to just play the game with that. There's a whole deck of stuff. So you have to try to actively win in a way that's not like conducive to just winning, but it's conducive to what you want to experience out of the game. And I think that without that, the game would be just a lot less interesting. So I would love to play like more and more games of this with you.
Yeah, it sounds very like political and not just black and white, just I want to win, which I think is very unique, and I really want to see that.
I love the player politics in this game. Like the fact that you can make a player a citizen and like kind of convert them to your side as the Chancellor is just so interesting. And then I love the closed economy. I really like that. I think my one irk with this game has partially to do with the legacy elements, where you kind of can like start to like approach like a fixed point where like your deck just kind of gets like overridden by one suit. I really don't mind it that much because like as you said, you can just be conscious about it and like kind of try to steer it in a direction. I'm really excited to see what they do with like the expansion content for this game.
Oh yeah,
because it sounds like they're going just wild,
psychotic with it.
Yeah.
Next up is Monikers. This is a party game. This is kind of in the style of charades, where you're trying to give clues to other people on your team about a bunch of cards. The cards will say something like Adolf Hitler, and if you want to use a gesture to reference Hitler, then you might do one of these, or you might do like mustache or stuff like that. And there's a various series of rounds where you can use every word except the word on the card, and then you can't talk, you can only pantomime, and then you can only, I think, like use one hand is one of them. It just keeps going on and on.
Yeah, they have a bunch of those levels.
It is extremely fun. It's a very funny game. I've laughed pretty hard, and it's pretty simple to teach people. I think it's just better charades. It's just funnier charades.
All right, moving up 15 spots this year, pretty big climb, is Wingspan. This is my top Stonemeyer game, and I like this game because it's pretty simple to teach. There's only 4 actions. You can get birds, play birds, lay eggs, or get food. And I like that you find yourself thinking like a bird in this game, when you're trying to
really
plan.
Makes you feel like a bird.
When you're trying to plan your like events going forward, you're like, okay, am I going to get food, lay egg, play bird? or am I going to play bird, lay egg, get food? And like those are the kind of thoughts that are going on in your head, and you're just like sitting there mumbling to yourself. It's definitely like an eyes down game. It's not like the most social game ever, but very simple tableau builder where you can only do those 4 simple things, and then your engine kind of builds from there. This game is kind of like a Lego bucket of pieces and ideas. Every time that you play it, it's going to be different. You're going to find a new combo, and some of those combos are just like insanely broken. Like sometimes someone will completely run away with this game because early on they found some broken combo, but I don't fault the game for that because that combo will never come up again. Yeah, I've played a lot of Wingspan this year, and I've realized that I really, really like it. It's more than what I had initially thought that it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of strengths here that are like similar, almost like Terraforming Mars, where it's just like there's just so many cards
Right.
that like you're gonna do a different thing every time, which is pretty fun.
And I like interrupting the game and being like, bird fact, and then reading off the
Oh
little
yeah, I love reading the
tidbit
bird.
They
they
got
have.
bird facts on it?
Oh yeah, every card
card.
has a bird fact.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
I love the theme. That's so funny.
Number 15 for me is
Wow.
Dominion. I have nothing to say about this game that hasn't already been said just by like a million people. This game rocks. It's just so good. It's a pioneer. You can teach this game to just about anybody. One thing that was really interesting when I was making these slides was like just looking up Dominion on Google Images, seeing like how many people differently set up the market. And I was looking at someone, I was like getting upset. I was like, "You set up the market like that? Like
Gross.
like that looks nasty."
Oh,
And like this Lazy Susan was like the closest to like what I do when I set up Dominion, so that's
Nice.
why I chose it.
Hell yeah, great pick.
next up, I have Love Letter. This is a, I think, 21 card game, and it is just about as simple as you could possibly get. There's a bunch of cards with effects on them, and on your turn, you have one card, and you draw another card, and you play one of them. You want to end with the highest number, usually the princess, but there's just so many fun edge cases to this. I think the little player politics are super stripped down, which makes them really fun. I like that the decisions are so simple. Just a super sweet, concise game. I appreciate the design so much for this because with so few cards, you get so many unique experiences out of it. I've played this game like 100 times, and I'm not tired of it yet. This is kind of like Secret Hitler but good, where you're accusing someone of being a specific role, but you can actually like do something about it with the mechanics of the game.
My number 14 is Heat, Pedal to the Metal. It moved up this year because I played it some more this year. This is a game about racing cars, something that I have no interest in real life. But the game is amazing, and I think that the theme is so good, right? Like, this is a racing game, and when you push on the gas, it feels like you're pushing on the gas, and when you're hitting the corners and you're shifting the gears, like it feels like, oh, I gotta downshift before I hit this turn, because like
Yeah.
otherwise it's gonna be really bad. Which I really appreciate about this game. I think that it's easier to have theme shine in racing games, but like for Wingspan, for instance, you could pair those mechanisms with any theme, right? Which is kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, it's exactly what they're doing. They've realized
Pedal
that.
to the Metal is a racing game about cars. You couldn't even do it with horses or anything the way that the mechanics work.
Yeah, yeah.
The best part about this game is the stress cards and how they add like a push your luck element when you have to draw blind cards and you kind of like have to predict what cards are going to come up and you make risky moves, which I really like. And the worst part about this game is that if you're really behind early in lap 1, you are probably not going to win. It's really hard to catch up in this game.
Yeah, I always say once you get like 2 turns behind, like you're toast.
It's looking rough,
It's
buddy.
looking bad.
How long are the play sessions?
Luckily, it's only 2 laps, but
Yeah,
it does
it's usually not
go
too
it's
long.
like 45 minutes or so.
about
So
It's not terrible, but
it can have like up to like a 25-minute beat down if you're in last place, which happened to me once, and I was like, ooh, I got a little sour after that.
Doesn't feel too good. Number 14 for me is Concordia. It's like Catan, but good, in my opinion. I'm sorry to the Catan lovers out there. I like it because there's nothing random about it, and like it's the same kind of idea where you're just like building out like your empire, and then you're like setting up like where you get production. I guess there's no trading. Yeah, really good. This is one game though. Like I hate to judge a game by its cover, but I look at the box of this game and I go, I don't want to play that. Nothing about the cover, the box makes me want to play the game. In fact, it makes me actively want to avoid the game.
It looks like it's gonna be a beige Euro. I can't believe
Yeah.
that you're not just like salivating over
I
that.
know.
I don't. There's something about like the art style that really bothers me. I don't know. I think it's like the lady has like some like kind of like purple teeth because she's like drinking wine or something. I don't know. I just think it's kind of ugly.
It does look kind of ugly.
And like not in like a fun beige Euro way. like there's ugly games that like look awesome.
Yeah.
That like I salivate for. But this is not one of those games.
I will say they should have focused more on how large the woman's hair is. I do like that. That's pretty fun.
Dude, she's
They should
got
have way
to
more
bump
focus.
it in, dude. It's,
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this game. I really like the hand management. This is a loose Euro, which I really like. There's a great place for a loose Euro where it's like not every decision like you can make a misplay in this game and you're completely fine.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
I
yeah.
like. I enjoy at times.
What's this?
Oh.
It's Air, Land, and Sea. It's an excellent 2-player game. It's super fun. It is, I think, only 18 cards. You're seeing a common theme with my stuff. So simple, but each move that you make is agonizing to do. It is just a card game, and there's enough synergies between the cards that you do like one simple thing and it feels like the end of the world. It feels like you've done the smartest thing ever. But the real part where this game shines is the forfeit mechanism. So instead of just having each round go to the end, the longer a round goes on, the more the winning player will win, like the more victory points they'll get. So the onus is on the player who thinks they're going to lose to forfeit so that they'll give the other player less points, which means you have this super interesting sandbagging mechanism where you want to make it appear like you're weaker than you actually are, but doing that might make you start to lose. So then you have to start to think, am I going to forfeit? No, my cards are good. And then it just snowballs. The tension increases with this game. It's super entertaining. It's one of my favorite combat systems ever.
I've heard so many good things about this game. I've never played it though. I really got to.
I would consider this another perfect game. There's like nothing that you can do to improve this.
My number 13 is the Quacks of Quedlinburg. I think that this game moved up a little bit, even though I didn't play it in this last year, because I want to play it so bad. I love this game, and the longer it goes without me playing it, I just want to play it more. But this game is like can't stop on crack. It is so funny. It's about brewing a potion without your potion exploding. So it's a push your luck game, and it really has that aspect of like, I know I shouldn't do this, but can't stop. They could have called this one Can't Stop.
I'm in the same boat as you, where it's like this game, like I haven't played in forever, but I want to play it so bad.
Yeah, it's really simple. I think it's a great intro to board games game.
Oh, yeah.
And the best part about this game is just like how much drama there is around the table. Like there's always some funny shit going on when you're playing this one.
One of my favorite things about this game is like the sense of like progression too, because like you like look at like this huge spiral in front of you and you're like, I'm not gonna get all the way around this, but you do.
But then
like
you
like
do,
like
yeah,
later
it's
like
amazing.
at the beginning of the game you're just like not making it very far. You're just sputtering out, but it, like as it goes on, like you really get to like actually like build something, which I think is really cool.
The comeback mechanism in this game is also
I
hilarious.
love the rats.
The rats, you go more forward from the start based on how far behind you are.
Yeah.
Which means that like it's not a completely foregone conclusion if you're come from behind, and you also get to say I'm doing rat strats.
Yeah.
So I'll no, don't worry, I'm gonna make it up in the back end. This game is super funny.
Gonna rebuild my lead in the aggregate.
Yeah.
Me and Mark almost had a crossover. I got really excited. I thought we had one, but we didn't. It's Heat. Awesome game. I everything Mark said, I'm just gonna ditto. One complaint. I want the box to be like 75% of the current size. I want it to be 25% smaller. This game is huge.
Yeah.
I don't like how big it is. But yeah, great game. I really like the campaign. The campaign's really fun. It's fun like upgrading your car. The bot in this game runs so smoothly. Like it's so easy to like do like a multiplayer race and have like all, I guess there's 7 racers now. Have like all 7 racers going.
Next up is Bonanza. This is a negotiation trading game. Another super simple game, but it is all about set collection, and it's all about talking with other people and trying to trade beans for beans. I don't have much to say about this. My whole philosophy with negotiation games, if you make them simple, they're just generally better. And this game is very simple and it's very good.
Yeah, this definitely feels like a Ben game. It's a small game that has a lot of drama and a lot of interaction.
Yeah, a lot of
and
interaction.
A lot of people laughing around the table. My number 12 is my largest rise of the year. It is Telestrations. This is telephone, but with drawings, and
It's a game of telephone.
it's
Sketched
really
out.
it is. It's really more of like a activity than a game,
It's a
right?
toy.
I mean,
Yeah, it's-
there's no winner, there's no way to lose, but it's on BGG, so it counts. And I really appreciate this game because as an adult, you don't have a lot of excuses to like draw with your friends and like get to see your friends' art styles. But this gives you that excuse. It's a more the merrier game. I think that with like at least 6 players, ideally if you have like the 12-player pack, that's the best. But yeah, Telestrations, absolute classic, hilarious game.
I showed this game to my students when I was a graduate teaching assistant, and one of my students said, "I feel like you could also show this to kindergartners." And I was like, "Yes, it's that good."
God, it's just daft fun.
Oh, it's
like that's
Yeah.
it's like a rip roaring good time.
rip roaring a good time. This is my bronze for 24. This is Root. Dudes on a map game, but instead of dudes, it's aminals. Pretty exciting. I really like the asymmetry. This is just a great war game. It's interesting. I have a weird relationship with this game because I played it like a ton, and I kind of started to not like it, and then I played a bunch of Cole Worley's other designs, and I came back to Root, and I was like, oh man, Root's really good.
There's something going on here.
There's something awesome here. And yeah, I really like this game. I'd play it basically anytime. It's one of those games that, like, I don't know if I'd want to own, but anytime someone's like, want to play Root, I'm like, yes, I do want to play Root.
I think that there's only so much room in anyone's collection to own a game this big and be like the guy that owns Root. It's a big commitment, I think.
Yeah, it's just a beast to teach, and like it's kind of a beast to get to the table too. Like just like getting everyone like personally set up and making sure that they're doing things right. Like it's a lot.
Oh, Raw. This game is cash. This is a bidding game, extremely stripped down from the bidding side, but also got a lot of elements of set collection. You're building your own little tableau. The best part of Raw is, again, the fear. There's always this uncertainty that you're getting a bad deal, and the uncertainty of whether the round is going to go on long enough that you basically functionally bust. You also get to do the best thing in any game. Say the phrase, "I choose to evoke Raw." It's so fun to say. Sometimes I will evoke just so I can say it. It's amazing. The game is also gorgeous looking.
Really pretty.
Love the theme. It would have been so easy to make this like the driest, like brownest game ever, but instead it has these like vibrant, beautiful colors. This game is amazing.
The old edition, it's pretty muted.
Really?
Yeah, I was playing the old edition the other day at like a board game cafe, and it's pretty muted. The new editions are just beautiful. Like both like the deluxe components are just so nice. But even like just like the standard like cardboard tiles, they look really nice.
Yeah, great production.
Great production.
My number 11 debuted at number 4 in 2022. This used to be like one of my absolute favorite games, and that's Terraforming Mars. This was my gateway heavy game. This brought me into like the realization of like, oh my gosh, board games can be so much bigger and more complicated, and I love it. And I think this game, the theme comes out really well. I got into this game because in college I was super, super into space stuff. And nowadays I really like it because it's a big heavyweight game that both of my brother-in-laws know and will play with me, and they know it really well. But the funny thing is that one of them has a really strong preference for Terraforming Mars, the original, and one has a really strong preference towards Ares Expedition. And I just have no preference. Like, they're pretty much the same game. Ares Expedition, the round structure is cooler, and it feels like a little more like streamlined and simple. But the OG version has this big board, and like you kind of lose some of the theme in Ares Expedition. It feels more like a card game, whereas the OG like feels like this big grand game that you kind of like want it to be. So I don't know. I'll play either. Great game, Terraforming Mars.
I really like the like action selection in Ares Expedition. How like kind of like the whole group playing chooses what actions everyone does, but then like if you choose the action, you get a little bonus. I really like that.
It is nice. And you
Yeah.
kind of like are banking on someone else choosing one.
Yeah. And then they choose the exact same thing as you because they're banking on you doing it. And you're like, dude, like, come on. Like,
That's funny.
Should have coordinated.
I had another near miss on the
Oh,
crossover.
so close.
Number 11 for me is Raw. Such a good. I love
Oh
this
my
game,
God.
and I wrote it down, so I have to say it. Best part of this game is going, I invoke Raw. Just so much fun to say, and especially like with like I don't know if the regular edition has like the big chunky Raw piece, but just like
Yeah. Oh,
smacking that
boom.
down.
Shatter your glass.
One of my
table.
favorite things about this game is the sundial bidding. Like it's so cool that like not only are you bidding on like the tiles that are out, but you're also bidding on your bidding power for the next round.
Yeah,
I think that's so cool.
that's smart.
And it can really change the dynamic a lot. Like sometimes like there won't be that many tiles out, but like it's like the highest tile, like the highest like bidding number, and so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna invoke Raw right now, so that I can get that tile for next round, and then just absolutely sauce with it.
Wavelength. This is another game I played with my students when I needed icebreaker stuff. This is the purest discussion game. You have that little dial in the middle, and then you have, as Chan said before, a dichotomy between two things. So like good smelling, bad smelling. It's just so fun. I love this game. Really is a great excuse to talk about stuff. It's just kind of a better priorities. It's more of a fun toy. It's a gorgeous looking game. There was a time where I would bring this basically everywhere I went. This was just a permanent passenger in my car. And, you know, I had so many good times with it. I should play it more. I haven't played it in a little bit.
I haven't played it in a minute.
Yeah.
I love a good yapping game.
Yep.
Like this is a lot to yap about.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine, if you will, we're creating a little cocktail, right? You take pandemic, you take risk, you take asynchronous powers, and you take the best theme in any board game. And what do you get? You get Spirit Island. I love Spirit Island. It feels like such a big, grand battle that you're going against. It totally replaces Risk for me. It's that feeling that I loved as a kid playing Risk, where it feels like I'm, a general, like moving troops around on a map, except that it's cooperative and you are fighting off the invaders that are coming to destroy your island. That being said, I think that Spirit Island would be a lot higher if the people that I played it with liked it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've played this game with like 5 different people, and only one of them vibed with it the same way that I did. Everyone else was like ranging from like meh to like never make me play that again.
Really?
Which is really funny. But for me personally, I love that this game like has like constant pressure. You're constantly worried about what's going on. I think that it's nice that you have to like play into your spirit strengths. Every time that you play this, you have to like do something completely different, and the combos between the spirits are really fun. It plays really solo, which for my specific problem with this game like helps solve that issue. I can always just play it and play as 2 different spirits. I wish that everyone kind of saw what I saw in this game. Yeah. I think that it frustrates people how the colonizers attack the Dahan and the board at the same time, and just like the way that the combat works is just like a little weird and a little hard to wrap your head around. The game honestly addresses quarterbacking just through pure like complexity. Like every spirit
That's the best way to do
is
it.
so like difficult, and like you have to focus on like your own territory and your own board. And so it's like you just tell people like, I'll control this, I'll handle this, I'll handle this problem, you take out that fire, you take out that, and less so like play this specific card, do this specific thing, which is really nice. This game, one thing that this game did teach me is that you can totally ruin a game for people by rushing the teach. This is a game that you need to tell people, like, this is going to be a long game.
Yep.
You got to do the teach slow. Honestly, like, Chan, you're, like, the only exception. Like, I can, like, teach you a game fast, and, like, we can just, like, hammer it out. And you'd be like, yeah, that was fun. Like, we'll play a little slower next time, but I'm glad that I got to experience the mechanics. But for, like, most of my friends, like, you need to play the game at the pace that it's meant to be played and not like try to rush it to the table.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gonna try to do.
One thing I really like about this game is I like how smooth the bot plays. Like I felt like everyone had like a really good understanding of like that system, which like I was really surprised by. Like everyone would like kind of just like glance over the board and like they're like, okay, like the invaders are doing this, then that, and then this. And like this is what we're expecting.
Yeah,
and
you
so
can
like
totally see where the problems are gonna come up.
no, that was really nice. And like I really liked the one time I played this, like just like the table talk that occurred,
Mm-hmm.
because it'd just be like, hey, like I have a huge problem over on this side of my board. Can I get like any amount of help? But then like other people would be like, oh, dude, you gotta look over here, and you'd look over there and you'd be like, oh,
sorry, bro.
you'd be like, okay, my
That's
problems
a
aren't
big
that
problem.
big. Number 10 for me. Oh, that's such a blurry picture. Cascadia. Yeah, this is just such a good tile laying game. Okay, so I guess there is some nostalgia here. This is my gateway board game, where Mark had me play this, and I was like, this is awesome. Like I was like, I just hadn't played a board game like this before, and I was like, this is so sick. This is like a lovely, like minimal player interaction type game where it's like,
Yeah, it's very puzzly. It's definitely like a do your own thing, but it's also like the colors and the vibe of the game are very comfortable. So yeah, the vibe's amazing. I remember teaching this to you though, and you were like, "I'm gonna go buy this like tomorrow."
yeah, and I did, like, because I was like, I need to play this, and my girlfriend really likes this one, which helps. Like the challenges in the game are really fun. There's like, it's so replayable. I really like this game.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it though.
This is where I put Quacks of Quedlinburg. There's like a 50% chance that's completely misspelled, but it doesn't matter because this game is gas. This game is so fun. This is the game that fully sold push your luck as a mechanism to me. In this game, you yearn to get a higher score. You need it desperately. You've never needed anything more in your entire life. And when you bust, it's just the most devastating thing in the world. It is such a fun social thing around the table. The light combo building is super fun, and it pairs extremely nicely with the main mechanism of the game, where you count how many chips you have in your bag, and then you calculate your odds of busting, and then you go, I'm going to draw anyway. And that leads to my favorite interaction thing with this game, is that you can goad other people into drawing and just keep going. And it's just so easy and fun to get another person to try to reach into their bag one more time. Just, oh, come on, you're gonna hit that green right now. Just do it. What are you thinking? It's so fun. I love this game. It's one of my favorite party games.
Almost.
Oh man, we've had so many close calls.
A direct crossover. My number 9 game is Cascadia. It has won 2 awards before. And this is the game that if I had to nominate a game to represent what modern board gaming is, it would be this game. This game has so much depth, and yet the rules are so simple. It feels like a game that has been out for forever. It feels like a game that came out, in like the 90s, except for like the variable scoring that like kind of boosts it into the modern age. Like that's such a great part of the game. Yeah, like Chan was saying, this game is just like a heads down game. It's not very social. It doesn't strike me as like a social game, not one that someone like Ben would maybe bring to the table. But most people really, really enjoy it. They just came out with an expansion not too long ago, and I got it, and I got it fully just to play this game at 6 players. And for the extra achievements, I do not care at all about the landmarks or what they added there, to be honest.
How are the new like scoring cards?
More scoring cards are great. The new ones are great.
Okay, cool.
Kind of more of the same. And then I did play this game at 6 players, and I had a blast. Everybody enjoyed it. It didn't feel like it went too slow. It's a game that you can kind of like talk around the table and kind of do your own thing. And yeah, this game is absolutely timeless. I love it.
Number 9 for me, Ezra and Nehemiah. Beautiful beige Euro. Look at that beige baby.
God, you're not beating the allegations, Chan.
Look at that beige baby.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is a block pusher. This is like a Garfield's greatest hits. Like you're laying out cards that have tags on them, and you can use the available tags to you. And then you can do a bunch of different actions. And I really enjoy this game. There's a lot of different things you can do. I really like the tech tree. I really like some like the rondelle actions happening. There's a lot of different ways you can take this game. Like this game almost has builds to them, and I really like it. The solo mode is really, really smooth, really good. I've not played it multiplayer, which makes me feel like such a dork. But it has very like positive player interaction where it's like, people don't really like block each other at all in the game, but sometimes it's like, oh, if you're gonna go there, like someone else is gonna get some things with it, and yeah, I enjoy that.
Nice.
I like how the round structure in this game works, where like you're going really hard in the blue stuff, and then the second that you want to go to like the red or the white actions, you have to completely flip your cards and just completely flip what you're doing and try to like rush that.
Yeah, you really have to round the bases like on the pivot there. Like you can't just like dive straight into red. Like you have to like take a step first, which I really like. Also, one of my favorite things is like that like altar track. Like you can go like burn things at the altar, and like you get a certain place down the track, and like each round, like if you're within a certain threshold, you get some things, and if you like exceed the threshold, you get like a better thing, and then you get like punished if you're like too low. And I really like that. Like
It's such a clever design.
yeah, it's really fun.
Oh, what's up next? It's Chinatown. This game is amazing. I keep saying that with every game. It's my top 10. I like them all, but this game is fantastic. This is a simple negotiation game. It is what I would consider a pure negotiation game. The only mechanism is trading ownership of different areas and making it so that you get like adjacent zones and then trading little businesses to build out your little combos. This is a game that makes me want to smoke a cigarette. I'm not a smoker. This is a game that makes me want to sit in a smoky room and make devious deals with more pliable people. I have done like truly foul things to my friends. I've made some evil deals with them, and it feels so good. It's so fun to be like sneaky and like, oh no, come on, you'll benefit from this, right? And the best thing about this game is that it's not like you're all building up towards one big negotiation. It's about making like 100 negotiations over the course of the game, and it has a really natural flow. Turns basically just end whenever everyone agrees that we're kind of done here. The pacing is fantastic. Just an all-around great game.
Okay, The Fall from the Top, one of the greatest games of all time. My gold medal winner from last year. It's Hadrian's Wall by Garfield Games, designed by Bobby Hill. Hadrian's Wall is a flip and write resource management game about defending Hadrian's Wall. And I think that the best way to experience this game is in two phases, kind of like we talked about earlier, where the first few games you play just kind of as like an exploration of what the game is. And then after that, you jump right into the campaign. The campaign for this game is absolutely amazing. I am personally a puzzle-first kind of board gamer. Like, all I want in a board game is a great puzzle. And the solo campaign does that expertly. You have to do something completely different every time. You have to know the system very well in order to complete it, which I really appreciate about this game. This is also the game that made me really, really want to be a game designer. Honestly, after I played this, I was like, I think I could maybe make something like this. You know, it would take a long time and I'd have to get a lot better, but it got me really, really excited about that. So it kind of holds a special place in my heart for that. It's one of only 3 games, along with Cascadia and one other game, that's been in my top 10 all years. I will always love Hadrian's Wall, and The Anarchy, the sequel for this game, is easily my most anticipated board game ever. I'm so excited for that game. That's Hadrian's Wall.
Number 8 for me is Tigris and Euphrates. This is another one from the Niz kid, Dr. Knizia.
No one calls it that.
Well, I mean, his friends do.
Oh.
Yeah, great game. Just so much fun. This game is so simple, and there's just like a few little wrinkles, and those wrinkles like create the entire game. Like, I have such a fun time playing this game. Like, it's just strange. I really like the scoring. We played this the other night, and I honestly think if like we'd played it the other night, but like back in 2024, I think this would be even higher than number 8.
Yeah, this would have gotten pretty high on my list. We just played it last night, and it's such a weird game. You have to think in completely different ways than what you're used to.
Yeah.
There's nothing like this game that I've played. It scratches the same itch as something like chess, but it's just completely different muscles, if that makes sense.
Every turn, I would be like, okay, I want to get at least like 2 or 3 points, and I just want to do that every turn and just be like as efficient as possible. And then like towards the end of the game, Chan just did like a couple things that got him like 7 or 8 points, and I was like, oh, I don't understand this game at all.
No, it's a game of big moves, which is so fun. Like, and I love the element that each turn, everything is completely different. The board can shift dramatically based on what other people do, and it creates this really interesting, like, naturalistic opportunity space where you have so many new avenues for doing like these really clever plays, and there's never like you're like building for 5 turns to do one thing. You're always trying to do the best thing that you can do like right now. I got illustrations.
Oh, nice.
This is just the funniest game of all time. This like breaks what I consider the rest of my list. Like the rest of them are like products to be made. Illustrations is like a cultural icon. the first time I played this game, I was showed it by a friend, and we did not play the official version. It was just pieces of paper. To me, this was just like a cool thing that my friend like learned from another friend that was like passed down. And that's like the lineage of this game for me. It's like a cultural artifact that is just pure diluted play. It is fun for its own sake. It is entirely whimsical. You can play with anybody. It's hilarious. This game is just such a treasure to me. It evokes such a wholesome feeling in my heart, and I bust a gut every single time I play it.
Yeah, you'd have to be the Grinch to not have a good time playing Telestrations. My number 7,
nice.
it's Camel Up,
Yes,
baby.
sir.
This is my last most money wins kind of game. Fun fact, I had 8 most money wins kind of games on my list.
Oh, that's a good
This
fact.
is also my top party game. Camel Up was the game of 2024. I played it 21 times. It was easily my most requested game. Everyone that I showed it to wanted to play it again, and every time I showed up to game nights, people are bringing it up and they're saying like, we got to play Camel Up. This game also has the best example of like a toy factor, I think, in any game that I've played. Where like the second that you set up the board and the pop-up tree comes up, people are like,
Oh.
what are we playing? And it totally sets the mood. And as you're explaining the rules and you show them like how the dice pop out of the pyramid, they all get like so excited. And then they're all like, okay, I want to be the red camel. And you're like, actually, we're betting on the camels. It's just such a fun game to teach, such a fun game to play. The one thing I'll say about this game is that this is a game for people who want to play board games to like purely like laugh and have fun. This is not like a strategic game.
Oh, yeah.
So if that's not your style, you won't like it. But otherwise, I would totally recommend this one.
I think that's what like, makes this game so good is that there's just no thinking involved whatsoever. like,
Yeah,
No,
there's
I-
exactly one skill curve of like figuring out like how the
Yep.
dice work, and then
you get a
that's
silly-
it.
Yeah.
Literally, once you know the rules,
Yep.
you can play as good as anybody else. like,
Now you're just betting.
yeah, just go for it.
It is just like a toy. You're basically like rolling a very elaborate dice made of like 7 multicolored camels, and then you scream in joy whenever you get it.
Oh yeah, this has had like some of the most like electric moments
Oh
in
my
games
God.
where like you're just hitting like a crazy like parlay almost. It's like,
Mhm.
Number 7 for me is Agricola.
Wow.
This is another Uwe Rosenberg game. This is like a very classic worker placement farm simulator, I guess. I don't know. There's something about this game that like just really itches a certain itch in my brain. Like I find like the puzzle really satisfying. I really like how tight it is. Like every action matters a lot in this game. One thing I like about that is like this is one of the few games that like have it like that tight, and then you're also like building like a silly little farm the
Yeah.
entire time. like I love that so much.
I
Like,
really like how you get to build up something. Like your board expands, and like by the end
Yeah.
you look at it, and win or not, you're like, oh, cute. I got my little farm.
I mean,
in
like
front of
I
me."
got like all my sheep and like hogs over here, and I'm growing a bunch of pumpkins. So sick.
Captain Sonar is definitely the most surprising pick of my list. We played this at the last Great Plains Game Festival. This is a ideally 8-player game where it's 4v4 head-to-head in real time. Every single person has their own little role where they're either the captain or the engineer or the navigator or the weapons. My favorite part of this game by far is the fact that you are on a team of guys and you're fighting against an identical group of people, and you have your own little job to do. And if you do that job well, and if you communicate well with your partners, then you will crush the other team into the dirt. It feels so good when you're succeeding in this game, and it feels so bad when you're losing because there's no randomness, there's no nothing. It's just exclusively their team is just synergizing better, and there's something about that that's just so satisfying to me. I read a research paper that this game is used by the US military for like team synergy.
Oh,
Like,
really?
it's like an online version so that you can't
Oh,
cheat
okay.
for stuff, which is my biggest problem with the game. You can like intentionally or unintentionally cheat. When you're like saying you're going in a certain direction, you can
Sure.
like mumble it to not make it super apparent. Honestly, this is the only game on my list I think would be genuinely better digital. Like I think like having everything streamlined or automated is a better word for it. Like I think that would just like eliminate all of the problems I have with this game, because otherwise it's hilarious. It's so fun. It's so tense. It is the most unique game I think I have on this list, and I would never own it myself because it's impossible to get to the table, but it is just so fun to play at like conventions and such. I would rent this game out like so much. I love it to death.
No, I definitely agree with you where it's like really easy to like kind of like ruin the experience for the other team.
Yeah.
Like when I first played this, like I think the first game I was the captain, and I'm a very like excitable person. And like I'd be going like up, 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 up.
Yep.
And like we'd be going like up two. And then like the other
Yeah,
other
how
like
many ups
how
is
many
that?
the other
is that?
I'd be like, oh, it was two, and like you said it like 6 times. And I was like,
sorry.
I felt so bad because
I was just getting
it's like
excited.
I was just so excited. Like I was like, oh man, I need to like focus and like
Yeah.
actually make sure that like I'm giving the other team proper instructions and not like just like being like, we need to move. One of my favorite things about this game is like when your team is just locked onto the other team, and you can just see the fear in their eyes.
panicking.
Like they're looking at each other, and like, oh, we gotta get out of here.
And then you hear them whisper, I think we might need to surface. I'm like, we got
And
him.
you're like, it's over.
My favorite part of this game is that sometimes when you have different like asymmetric rules for each player, it can be like, oh, you're just kind of doing like different little mini games. But each of the mini games are distinct enough that they touch on different like skill sets. So like Mark, I feel like you were really, really good as the engineer. Like we never had any problems when we were doing that. And Shane, you were amazing as the map guy, the navigator type.
Doing the radar. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
the radar. Yeah.
Like the puzzle of like, okay,
Yeah.
where's the enemy? like this is their last few moves. Like where could they be?
Like it touches
so much fun.
like completely different parts of your brain, and the fact that it's all packaged up in one team experience. It's like it's the definition of greater than the sum of its parts. I could talk about this game forever, but I gotta stop.
My number 6 is new this year, although I've had it all year, so I've played it a bunch. It's Raiders of Scythia, another Garphill game. This is a reskin of the Raiders of the North Sea, except now you're raiding ancient Persia, Assyria, and Greece. This game, what I love about it is that it's a Garphill game that is so balanced, and like in the sense that it's approachable, it's exciting, and yet it's still like really thinky. And I think that it's hard to make a Euro game that has all three, where it's a game where I would really teach to anybody. The worker placement mechanism in this game is really unique, where you place down a worker and then you pick up another worker, and I think that helps the game be so approachable because it limits the decision space as you're taking your turn. You can only place down a worker in like one of 3 spaces and then pick up one of 3 workers, so that kind of like narrows your focus as you play. With that being said, you go on these raids, so the game kind of like remains exciting, and then it has a little bit of push your luck where you're committing like a certain amount of resources, and then you have to roll these dice as you go. So it kind of stays exciting that way. And then the powers that you start with at the beginning of the game help it like have that little asymmetric aspect, so that it's constantly exciting, and everyone is like always doing their own very unique thing. My only beef with the game, you can kind of see like up by the number 6, is that those are 2 different icons,
Yeah.
right? And this board is so long, and the icons look so similar, and they even look similar like compared to the backgrounds. So you have to like pull out your binoculars to like figure out.
I was
the
wondering
icons.
what those were up there. Gotcha.
Too saturated. It should be more beige, honestly.
Yeah, they should have gone more beige. There's a little bit too much color in this game.
If only the games were uglier.
This should be hit with a sepia tone filter. Number 6 for me is Far Away. This is just a really good drafting game. I really enjoy it. I really like it. It has beautiful art. Mark already talked about it kind of at length about just how fun it is. The scoring's so interesting, like the having to score backwards. Like the first like 3 times I played it, I completely messed it up, like just because I wasn't thinking about it properly. But like once you get used to it, this game's just so much fun.
I have Galaxy
nice.
Trucker as number 6. This game is so funny to me. This game is, as we've mentioned before, bisected into 2 halves. The first half is pure panic mode, which I don't think I've noticed this about myself, but like having to explain my thoughts in all these games, I think I like when I'm like anxious and fearful in a game. Something about that, like The pressing the panic button just feels good when it comes to games. I think it creates really interesting outcomes. But there's the half where you're panicking, you're building your ship, which is really fun. And then after that, there's the part where you're basically just letting it ride. You have some impact over what you do. You have like small decisions, but most of the game is during the frantic period at the very, very start. It's very front-ended. And I think that is the smartest decision that the designers could possibly make. There's a much worse version of this game that has like an equal level of thinking in the front and the back, which would not be supported by the level of randomness. Because you already are done like freaking out and you're already just kind of like sitting in the afterglow, relaxing a little bit. You don't care as much when your ship like blows in half. Like it's just inherently funny because you can make fun of the person you were like 5 minutes ago. I think it just creates this really zen experience out of an inherently chaotic, anxious thing, and something about that just really works for me.
Yeah, I usually hate when games like front load the thinkiness, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's one of my issues with Catan is like if you don't play and then you don't like set up the board right, you're just like completely screwed. But in this game, because that's the entire game, it's perfect. And it's like, sweet, let's play again. My number 5 game this year is Orleans. This game was gifted to me by our audio engineer, Carson.
Shout out, Carson.
And I had never heard of that before it, but it has kind of become like the mascot game for my Monday night game group. This game is amazing. It's a beige Euro, finally. But honestly, we should have Ben try this one because I think you would really like this one. It's a bag builder, right? And so it kind of has like a little bit of like a push your luck aspect, but then also you're like trying to maintain like the ratio of different types of workers within your bag to like always try to be efficient on your turn, which is really cool. And then there's also like all these little micro engines that you can build in this game. It's not an engine building game, but there's like little things that you can do to like boost your efficiency, which I think is really fun. And yeah, there's just something about Orleans that's just so like comfortable, and I know I kind of overuse that term a lot in board games, but like yeah, I just absolutely love this game. I love how it looks, love how it plays.
Number 5 for me, Quest for El Dorado. This is my top Knizia game. Just a really good deck builder, and I honestly think this is the best racing game that there is. I love like the decision space. It's just so much fun. I'll play this like anytime, anywhere, with anyone, and it's so easy to teach. Like this is a like really easy game to get to the table, and there's so much replayability with like all the different things you can do with the maps.
Yeah, it's a very like joyful game. Like the second that you taught it to me, it was like I felt like a kid, you know?
Yeah.
But then there's like a good amount of depth and like clever plays that you can have in this one.
I love the pre-planning that you do in this game. Like, I'm going to need to take this path, so I need to get like a lot of blue spaces, but then you get hit with the inherent randomness of deck building of like, maybe I'll have to like pivot in the last moment. Like very random, but I mean, that's just part of the fun of deck builders. I love this game. This was really fun.
Once I win this game, I'm sure it'll shoot up like 20 spots.
Yeah, the fact that I won last night definitely doesn't have any impact there. Oh, next up is Camel Up. I think Mark said basically everything that I want. This game is fantastic. Super silly, super goofy. It's got my favorite meeples out of any game. The camels that stack on top of each other is so funny. I think that component is the entire reason why you're racing camels instead of another animal. Like the fact that you can get the 2 humps, go over the 2 legs. Like I think that's the entire reason. And it's beautiful. I wouldn't have it any other way. This game is hilarious. I've showed it to my family and they loved it. I would show it to basically anybody. It's just a super fun gambling game.
Oh,
really?
Okay, my number 4 this year, moving up 8 spots, is The Crew, Quest for Planet 9. Although I think Mission Deep Sea is maybe the actual pick here. They're both great. They're both basically the same. The Crew is simply the best trick taker, and it took me a while to realize how good this game. This debuted in 2022 as in the bottom half of my list, and I had considered getting rid of it. And the more I played it and the more people that I taught it to, the more I appreciated what was going on in this game. This game deserves all the hype that it gets, and it never feels boring, and it never feels played out. It's just the perfect trick taker.
Number 4 for me is Slay the Spire, the board game. I really don't have much to say about this. It's just so much fun, and then like you add co-op to it, and it becomes even more interesting. I am amazed at how smooth this game is for being an adaptation of Slay the Spire. Like, I heard about this game, and I was like, and I tried it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'm amazed at what they're doing here. So much fun. This is like a great, like, set aside a day, play a game of Slay the Spire with the homies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lovely game. I love it. I've played the solo a couple times, and it's just not different enough from the video game to like justify getting out everything.
Yeah, it's a big setup.
Yeah, but just for the co-op, it's such a fun game.
The thing about the video game is that because it's so fast and so automated, you get to explore more weird builds and synergies. I feel like if you played this game solo, you would get you could get stuck on like a not super interesting synergy for like a very long playtime. Yeah. But when you play with 4 people, it's going to be entertaining regardless.
Yeah.
I got Inhuman Conditions as number 4. I really debated putting this game on my list because I didn't want to put RPGs on the list. I have a few of those that I really enjoy. I have a few journal games that I played over COVID that I didn't put on because I just don't feel like they're not quite board gamey enough, and this just barely gets it for me. There's just enough mechanics to justify it. Inhuman Conditions is basically just a conversation of a game. There is an interviewer and an interviewee, and the interviewer is trying to figure out whether or not the interviewee is a robot, using these like situation cards to ask for certain questions. There's 2 different types of robots. Passive robots can't do certain things, like they can't use the word I, or they can't like talk about a certain thing. And then aggressive robots have to accomplish like 3 different goals, and once they accomplish 2 of them, they can slam their hands on the table and instantly win. And there's this amazing feeling of tension throughout the game about whether or not the other person is telling the truth or not. And you just get these really fun improv sessions that are laced with this like white hot tension, and you never quite know if the other person is messing with you. It's fantastic. I've had some incredible sessions of this game. Like, some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had have been with this game. The only problem with this game is that about like 1/3 of the time, the interviewee will get the human category, which means that they don't have anything, and it's boring. You have the full 5-minute game, which is a super quick turnaround time, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But if you find out in the first 2 minutes that that person is a human, then you basically have to just kind of stick through with the rest, or kind of be played for the fool. Like, something about that is so boring to me. I feel like there's, in the design space, you could have fixed this by eliminating that like boring version of that. Even if the humans had like something to do, I could forgive it, but that is like the only thing stopping this from being one of my favorite games of all time. This is fantastic.
All right, my number 3, winning my bronze medal for the year, is Too Many Bones, a grungy, dice chucking, dice building RPG where you play as a gearlock, which is kind of like a mix between like an elf and a goblin. This game has so many dice, so many chips, so many components. The box weighs like 20 pounds. And I find the game so humorous, both in the writing style and the gross art, and just like the overall like complexity and production, and just how over the top this game. I think that it's amazing. There's so many like edge cases and rules, and this game taught me that I'm the kind of person that likes that in a game. I like being able to pull off this game. One of my favorite parts about this game is being the person who knows all the answers to all the little questions and edge cases. Like, I'm like running like an RPG simulation in my head. Like, I'm the Game Boy playing, running the cartridge.
It's like Ben playing Hadrian's Wall, just like, I'm playing such a complicated game.
Exactly.
My little dice, chunk of dice.
So like I said with Root earlier, there's only so much room in a collection for games like this that are like big lifestyle games. But for this one is worth it to me. I don't recommend this game. I debated playing this, or I heavily debated not putting this in my top 3 because I don't recommend it to people. Like, you have to be a certain type of person to really, really enjoy it. But I played it like 60 to 70 hours this year. Like, I have to put it up top because it's so much fun. and even just looking at it, like I get so excited about it. It's such a goofy game. I play this game in waves. Like I'll like play like 3 or 4 campaigns like in a month and like just leave it on the table and then put it away and then do it again a few months later. And my favorite gear locks, for anyone that knows Too Many Bones, are Tink. Everybody gives Tink shit for some reason. I think Tink is hilarious. Tantrum and Riffle. Riffle was the original Balatro. So yeah, there you go.
Original
Too Many
Balatro?
Bones.
That's deck building with a 52 card
Oh
deck.
yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's funny. This is the most unique aesthetic of any game. Like, if I look at each individual piece of the art, I'm like, that looks horrible, but the vibe is so good. Like, the game looks like it smells bad, and it works for some reason. How does that work?
It's well cultivated.
Yeah.
It's well cultivated. Like, everything's very intentional.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me, it's Arcs.
Wow, I had this
That
as
is
your number one.
Yeah.
Really? No, it's
Yeah.
not. My
Yeah.
number one will shock you. Arcs is really good. I love this game. I played it probably 16 times in 2024, which isn't that much, but it came out towards the later end. So I love the way this game forces you to think. Like, I love like the ambitions, like declaring ambitions is so interesting to me, like trying to decide when you want to do that. And the fact that you usually have to fork over initiative to even do that. So it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot while telling everybody what your next move is. I think that's so cool. I love like the prequel actions. I love the card play, like the twist on trick taking. It's so much fun. You can do really cool moves in this game with like while still being low on resources. So, like you're limited only by like your own strategy almost in this game. Like I love like the saying that like every hand in Arcs is a bad hand. Like, I mean, some people disagree with that, but I think it's so funny just like that's even like said, because it's just like you get your cards and you're like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do with it? Like how am I gonna make these work for me? And I love trying to pull that off, and I think it's really funny when I don't pull it off. Like like it feels great when I pull it off, and it's just like it's like a learning opportunity when I don't, and I'd love this game.
I think the game pops. I think that's
so
like the
cool.
most important thing, is that it's readable. I love the primary colors that they used. I think it looks good. All right, now for the anti-Arcs. Twilight Imperium and Arcs are so interesting to compare because it's just like literally generations of board game design differences. Twilight Imperium was originally designed in the 80s, I'm pretty sure. 80s or 70s.
Yeah.
And you feel it. You definitely feel it. This is a big ass game that takes a really long time, and it's Dudes on a Map space game. It's like the quintessential space game where you're playing a faction fighting for control of the galaxy. Whereas in Arcs, your turns are like, there's a lot of different variability you can do, and like guile that you can put in specific moves. When it comes to TI, specifically TI4, everything is like glacial. Like, you will be planning out moves like hours in advance. And there's so many wacky powers, so many different asynchronous stuff. It really feels like you are a galactic community, like massive, engaging in these huge negotiations. And the feeling of the game is the thing that I like the most. Each of the individual bits, there's like smart elements of design. I really like the action selection. I think it's super smart. By far, the game nails the vibe, and it is just immaculate. There's like no game that feels as big and important as TI. There's like no way to describe this game other than to like experience it, honestly. I think that everyone should play it at least once. I have been trying to get another group together for a while, but I will say that this is like the one type of big game where it's like a bunch of dudes on a map where I would not want to play it with the full player count. I think the game can slow down massively. I took a before and after photo of my last group when we played it, and like the beleaguered, haunted look on everyone's faces was just so apparent. It's like, oh god, you like just went through no man's land.
I think it's funny that last video you were like making fun of yourself for being the fake gamer of the three of us, and then you have TI4 as your number 3, and neither of us have tried it. All right, folks.
Nice.
There it is.
I don't know why I didn't put this in the top 3.
It's the Return of the King. It's Dominion moving up one spot this year. It's my most awarded game of all time. It's good. It stays good. It was my gateway game. I think it does deck building cleaner than any other game. It's just pure deck building. Just get VP. 3 things in this year brought this game back up one spot. I definitely thought it was going to drop out of my top 3, but the new expansion is absolutely amazing. I have a good friend who got really into the online, so I played a ton of online with him. And then, as you can see in that picture over there, I finally developed a storage solution for all my cards. They were like 4 feet tall, and they took up way too much room in my house. And so now it's a lot easier to play like true Dominion, where you like fully randomize all the decks. Which I really enjoy. I think that's like the best way to experience the game if you know the cards. And this is the only game that has this many cards that I actually do know all the cards. Like all the cards that come out, I'm like, oh, I've seen that card win a game before. I kind of know the synergy with that card. And having a game this big that you kind of like know that well, you know, like the back of your hand, is really, really rewarding. So, yeah, Dominion.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Great game. Number 2 for me.
Really?
Clever
Wow.
Cubed. Not moving at all. It was silver last year. It's silver this year. This is combined with twice as clever, and that's pretty clever. I've not played clever forever. I should at some point. I love these games. they're like Yahtzee on steroids. I've never actually played Yahtzee, so I really can't be saying that, but just so much fun. I love like the combos that happen in this game. There's something about like the puzzle that just like really tickles me. Clever Cube's my favorite, and then it probably goes twice as, and then that's pretty.
Yeah, they're very like mathematical, push your luck, pull off like big clever moves. Like somehow the board is like so boring, like it's just numbers on a sheet, and yet like there's so much drama when you play. Like this is such a Chan game. Every time I see these games, I think about you.
Like I have the Clever Cubed app on my phone, and I play it all the time. Like I'll be on the bus and I'll just be ripping Clever Cubed.
Dude,
I love it.
I need to check this out. I've seen it on the
It's
table. But I've
so
never
much
played.
fun.
I got Oath as number 2. This game is just revolutionary. It changed the way that I think about what winning is in board games. I think this is the only game that like genuinely makes me consider whether or not I want to win a game, like how I want to win. Player politics of this game, like Chan mentioned before, are so intricate. This is basically a negotiation game where there are so many mechanics that you wouldn't even consider it to be that. But the further along the game you get, the more necessary it becomes to make like uneasy alliances. And normally what happens is the kingmaker problem of like, oh, well, you like attacked me earlier, so I guess I'll help this other person win. And it's like, whatever, who cares? Like, I understand that. No one can get like upset about it. It's whatever. But this game, by adding the legacy elements, forces you to consider what you want out of the experience. Because each of the suits that get added to the world deck are literally different mechanics, by choosing to win the game in the same way that the dominant suit has, you are actively making the player experience like worse. Everyone has the same base experience with the legacy elements. Every time people play, 2 suits gain dominance in the start. It's the Order suit and the, I think, Discord suit. They're like very combat oriented, very traditional dudes on a map stuff. In designing this game, there is a naturally built narrative over the course that does not need to be written in any book. You don't need to have to read anything off a card. It is naturally generated by what people expect out of dudes on a map games. And thus, the role of fighting against that goes onto the players themselves. Like you can choose to like go and try to win based off of the dominant suits that you've got, or you can do the genuinely revolutionary thing of trying to use different mechanisms that are less powerful now than they were when you started, but they're imbued with this like, no, I want to see a genuinely different world. And that is just such a fascinating part of the negotiation that I've seen in no other game. It is so compelling to me. I have like sandbagged certain games because I want to see like, oh, what does the Nomad suit do? I've not seen any of those cards. I will say it does have a lot of the problems of dudes on a map games. Turns are too long.
This game's not balanced.
It's
at all.
not even
even
close.
remotely. Yeah.
Like intentionally so. Like I just described the legacy elements, a very flowery language. I think a different person could say the same thing and be like, yeah, the game's total bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
it does not matter.
It's kind of a polarizing game.
Yes.
Like some people really don't
Yeah,
like it,
yeah.
which I understand. Like, I see where they're coming from.
I think that like what made me realize that Cole Worley is such a good game designer is like that thing where like the best artists, like some people are gonna hate it and some people are gonna love it. Like you want to make controversial art, and I think that he just embodies that.
Oh, he does such a good
Especially
job.
you've seen that with the release of Arcs, where like I've seen 30-minute YouTube videos just like completely hating on
Yeah.
Arcs and describing why it's the worst game ever, and then I've seen other people create entire new YouTube channels just to talk about why they love the game. It's
Yeah.
insane, like the response that game has gotten.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And when I played it, this actually happened in the only game of Root that I ever played, the only game of Oath that I ever played, and the only multiplayer game of Arcs that I ever played, is that there was a point where someone had a king-making decision.
Yep.
And for me, like, that can bother me. I don't know if it bothers you guys as much.
It depends on the game.
Yeah.
Like in Oath, I don't really mind it at all. It actually kind of bothers me in Root though.
Sure.
And then in Arcs, it kind of depends on just like how the game's unfolded, I guess.
It's Viscounts of the West Kingdom. No surprise here. It's another Garfield game. This game is absolutely amazing. It's worker placement mixed with a slow deck building concept. And my favorite thing about this game is that every turn sets up the next turn, and it gets me excited for the next like 2 or 3 turns. Like I always have a sense of direction. I always feel like I have a plan. And the second that like I sit down to play this game, I can't stop until I'm done, because I'm like, okay, just one more turn, just one more turn, just one more turn. And I'm constantly having fun, constantly excited. The expansions that you add in feel pretty natural. I think that I love the brain space that I get when I play this game. I understand the complaint that people have with Garfield games where they can feel like very samey, but if those are your favorite type of games, then I kind of treat it as like different puzzles that are similar that I could pull off the shelf and play whenever I want, you know, like you don't judge someone for having like different jigsaw puzzles or like a whole book of like Sudoku or whatever. And I treat Garfield games that way, where it's just a collection of puzzles that I absolutely love. And I fully expect like different Garfield games to be like kind of like different flashes in the pan at different times and different years, because like I just kind of like hyperfixate on one specific puzzle. And this one was definitely it this year for me. This game heavily inspired the game that I'm designing. So I really had to put it at number 1 because I absolutely love what they did. They inspired me so much to continue on my design journey, and playing this kind of like got me over a hump and kind of like a rut that I was in with my game design. Going back to the discussion of like words versus icons, one thing I love about Garfield games is that it's all icons. Like it's
There it
all
is.
just iconography, and it's all just perfect. Like I can handle like so much more information in my head in such a more complex game when it's just icons. So yeah, I love how they design their games, and this one is absolutely fantastic.
I do agree on that. Like with Garfield games, like the only word being just like the names on the cards. Like that's all you need.
That's
It's
it.
lovely.
That's it.
Yeah.
I really like the art direction there.
I like weirdly did not really like Garfield art like that much at first. Like I never liked like, you know, like the victory point iconography, like kind of like that banner.
Yeah.
I really didn't like that for a long time, and I'm still not like fully sold on it, but I'm definitely warming up a lot more to like the way they use their icons.
Yeah, it's at the very least it's nice that they're consistent. So when you learn
Yeah.
like another really heavy complex game, you're like, I already understand half of
You're
it.
just like, oh
looking
yeah,
at the board.
you just discard a green card. There's an
Yeah,
X on it.
yeah.
Cool. Feast for Odin. This is my number 1 game
Whoa,
of 2024.
wow.
This one kind of caught me off guard too, but this game like it made me feel something.
You're in love.
No, like low key though. Like this game it's like exactly what I want like out of a Euro game. Like I love all the little things. I love the decision space. I love that you can like choose how strong your actions are by how many guys you send there. I really like the polyomino puzzle. I like the different builds in this game. Like it was pretty funny. Like when we played this at the convention, like that guy came up and was like talking to us about it. It's like, oh yeah, you guys are just gonna like do like with the whale strat, like you're just gonna be like whaling the entire game. I was like, and then like one of you just started doing it. I was like, oh, that's actually a really good strategy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just kind of fun. I've only played it twice. I played it online and then like in person one time. But both times, like I had actually such a good time. And like when we played it in person, it was my second time playing it technically. And I managed to like fill up the entire board, and I was just like actually such a good
So
feeling.
satisfying.
It was so nice.
Are you gonna get this one?
I don't know. see, it's tough because like
No one's gonna play with you.
no one's gonna play with me.
Wait, can you do it solo?
Yeah, the way the solo works is like it's self-blocking,
Oh.
but then it's also like kind of like beat your own points.
Yeah,
Solo,
it's like a high score almost.
yeah, which I find trouble motivating myself to play games where it's just like beat your high score. Like I much prefer it when it's like, oh, like beat at least like a bot score or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I don't know. If I had like a group that lived near me that I knew would like actually want to play this with me, I would probably get it pretty fast. I really like this game.
Nice.
Yeah. Mine is
Oh, I've heard of this,
Deception,
actually.
A Murder in Hong Kong. Have you guys played this?
No, I've heard of it though. I have heard of it. I will say.
This game is a masterpiece. It is the best hidden role game. It is like, in my opinion, like the next level of engaging with the hidden role system, where there's one person who's a traitor and everyone else is trying to collectively figure out a solution to what it is. Everybody has 4 items in front of them and 4 murder weapons, and there is a forensic scientist who's trying to give clues in the middle about what they are. The best thing about this game is that it is as fun to be the traitor as it is to be just a basic person. So many times in hidden role games, it's like too anxiety-inducing because you don't really have that much power. In this game, your power is entirely your ability to subjectively influence like what you think the clues like give away. It's kind of similar to Obscurio in that way, but this game just does it so much better for theme and just simplicity. It has the best pacing of any hidden role game by a long shot. There's no external timer. Everyone just has one guess, and once everyone's guesses are over, if no one got it right, then the game is over, which means that every single time someone guesses, it's the most climactic thing. There are such dramatic swings in this game. I've had so many fantastic experiences, like going down to the wire in this game, and also games that end almost immediately. There was one game where my mother was the traitor, and she picked Flip Flop and Blender, and my sister popped the fuck off with the clues. She was like, summer, it was hot, it was like sharp. And immediately my dad was like, oh, it's probably Flip Flop Blender. And to this day, this is the game. This is the Flip Flop Blender game to my family. And I will play the Flip Flop Blender game any day of the week. It's hilarious. It scales amazingly. You can play it with like 11 people.
Oh, wow.
It's just the perfect party game. The pacing is immaculate. I just think it's fantastic. I will always play this.
All right, sweet. I really like talking about our top 100 games, just because
that's a lot of fun.
I think it like helps me like as a designer. We're all like aspiring designers, you know, and I think that like saying, you know, verbalizing what you like about games really helps with game design.
And it's fun hearing like what other people like about it too. Like hearing like Ben's takes on things. It's like, oh, you like that. Like that's not like what I like about the game at all. But
What does the freak goblin think about this one? Mysterio might be fun. Who knows?
you made the slides, man.
I don't know what I was thinking. To be fair, I was panicking when I was making the slides.
Okay.
It does sound a lot like Mysterium. They're very similar.
They're very similar.
So I feel like you might have Googled it and then a picture of Mysterium
That's
came
definitely what
up
happened. Yeah,
because they're
clue-giving game.
basically the same game, it sounds like.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, my butt. My butt.
I'm going to talk about Hitler a lot. Like,
I'm going to talk about Hitler at least 3 more times. I'm looking at my top 10. There's no way Hitler's going to come out.
no way. I promise
It's
it won't.
preposterous.
That's
Nice.
so sick. Is that all Dijon mustard?
Course Banquet.
Oh. Oh, yep. It kind of looked like Dijon mustard from a
I thought it was-
distance. Like the red caps.